Today you're going to see the first video in a mini-series of 2 reviews of games about gladiators. Yes, we travel back in time, we go back to ancient Italy, and we have a look at what Italians enjoyed to watch before they came up with the entire soccer idea. One of the 2 games is Munera, published by Albert Pavo, actually an Italian publisher, and we're going to talk about this game more in detail in the next video. And today we talk mainly about Red Sand, Blue Sky, published by 2 Hour War Games. This is a game that concentrates on the tactical aspect of gladiatorial combat. Here you are the gladiator in the arena, or you are the group of gladiators, and then if you want you can add rules that will also give you an economic managerial side. Then you can also play as the leader of a team of gladiators. Then you have that aspect that you have to equip them and to follow their career and to further, of course, their career. On the contrary, Munera starts on that side, on the managerial side of things. In that game, you are the manager of the team, and then, of course, once you train and equip your men, you also send them into combat and you see how they perform. But the main idea, the core idea, is different in the 2 games. One is more about combat, and the other one is more about managing the fighters. The game is available as a print and play game. You can just purchase the PDF and then you build your own copy, or you can purchase the printed version. The printed version comes with an arena and with a manual that contains everything you need to play. It has, of course, the core rules teaching you how to build your gladiator and how to fight. Then you have campaign rules that, of course, make the game more complex. Wagering. You have rules to build your own school of gladiators, to track their career from the fringes of the empire to when they become superstars fighting the Colosseum. You have different types of events, that would be different types of scenario. And you have the tables that you need to play the game. Then you have rosters for the different types of gladiator and many rosters for different types of animals. Really, there is an entire bestiary here, different animals that you can use in your events. A sample match here. At the end also you have another arena. If you want to photocopy it, you can. Black and white counters represent the different types of gladiators, and these you can photocopy and then mount. Or you can use these ones here, which are printed on this thicker cardstock here, so you can just cut them and use them. Of course, I haven't. I just used the black and white photocopied version of the gladiators that I made. Or, well, you can just use pretty much anything you want. You can play using your fancy painted miniatures. You can use these black and white gladiators that come with the game, but really the only limit is your imagination. In fact, I like to play using meeples as gladiators and then using crazy toys belonging to my daughter when I want to represent animals that enter the fight. There are 6 types of gladiators in this game, and each comes with a specific roster sheet. You will have to make photocopies. You will need one for each gladiator. In fact, when you're customizing your gladiator, you will distribute a certain amount of points among 3 main characteristics: savvy, which is combat skill; strength, which represents stamina mainly; and speed. So you distribute your points here, and then you will combine abilities in different ways to create 2 other characteristics: maneuver and attack. You will also receive bonus dice, which you will spend during the game to receive extra rolls. Then you have a silhouette here, which indicates the level of health of different parts of your body. The level of strength of each part of your body is equal to your general level of strength. Each part of the body can have up to 7 points of strength. And when you receive damage in combat, it is always localized. It is always specific damage to a specific part of your body. At the beginning of each turn, each gladiator rolls for initiative to see the order in which gladiators are going to act. And to determine initiative for each gladiator, you roll 1d6 and you add the speed value. a gladiator may move one space on the board. The gladiators may move orthogonally, diagonally. They may enter the same space containing an opponent, or if they start the turn there, they can move away. If they're adjacent to an opponent, they can also choose to launch a ranged attack instead of moving. If they have a weapon such as a spear or a net, they can choose to throw that weapon, or they can choose a nasty attack, which is called kicking the sand. They can kick the sand in the eyes of the opponent, trying to blind the opponent. It is a risky move because if that doesn't work, then the gladiator that's kicking the sand is caught off guard and the opponent may attack immediately. But if it works, of course, will limit the combat ability of the opponent. When two gladiators are in the same area, they will have to go through the maneuver phase, in which they study each other and they try to gain an advantageous position against the opponent. In this phase, both gladiators will roll to determine how they perform during the maneuver phase. Each gladiator rolls a die for each point of savvy, then an extra die for each bonus die that is used. There are other modifiers depending on the circumstances. For example, if a gladiator is knocked down or fighting with the offhand, and then they will compare the number of successes that they roll. For each 1, 2, or 3 that a player rolls, that is a success. Each 4, 5, or 6 is a miss. And to the successes that are rolled, the players will add an extra success for each point of speed that the gladiator has. At that point, the players compare the total number of successes that they scored, and the player that scored more successes than the opponent chooses what's going to happen next. If there is a tie here, both players remain in their movement zones, they are seeking an opening, and they catch their breath. That means that they both gain a bonus die. But if a gladiator scored more successes, then the gladiator chooses the next action, and the higher the number of successes, the more the options that the prevailing gladiator has. For example, the gladiator that has scored 3 or more successes than the opponent may choose to bash attack, or to gain advantage and attack to the unshielded side, or to draw back and catch his breath. If the prevailing gladiator decides to bash attack, then that gladiator will have a bonus when trying to hit the opponent. But if instead that gladiator chooses to attack the unshielded side, then he will not have a bonus when trying to hit. But if he does hit, he will be more likely to inflict severe damage on the opponent. Then resolve the attack, and to do so, both players again roll, which is good, because if both players are rolling, both players are feeling involved in the action. So both players will roll a certain number of dice, which is going to be their savvy plus their speed plus bonus dice if they decide to use them. Then other modifiers, including a reach modifier for the weapon that they are using. Each player rolls the appropriate number of dice. Again, they count successes. Again, they compare them, and the gladiator that scored more successes than the opponent gains an advantage. It's same number of successes, nothing happens. A gladiator scored 1 more than the opponent, then it doesn't matter whether the gladiator is the attacker or the defender. You just have to re-roll, but this time without counting the weapon reach. If a gladiator scored 2 successes more than the opponent, then if that is the attacker, then the attacker inflicts a hit. If it is the defender that scores 2 more than the opponent, counter-strike, the defender becomes the attacker, and you have to retake the attack test. So actually you have 3 results here that all will force you to roll again. The real resolution you have when you have a gladiator that scores 3 plus successes more than the opponent. If that is the attacker, then you go to the hit location table, because the attacker scores a hit and actually is going to have an extra success on that table. And if it is the defender that scores all those successes, then you have a pretty spectacular sequence of actions. The attacker lunges aggressively, the defender steps aside, and the attacker is forced into the adjacent movement zone directly behind the defender. In the process, as the attacker is moving that direction, the defender scores a hit against the attacker. Okay, you scored a hit, then you have to figure out where that is. You roll 2d6. That will determine the area that you hit. If you are attacking the shielded side, that is always going to be a damage. Otherwise, if you attack the side of the opponent that has a shield, there are cases in which you just hit exactly where the shield is, so no effect. But if there is a damage, then now you know where the damage is, and you have to determine the number of damage dice that you roll. That number is going to be equal to the strength in the arm that is wielding the weapon. That will be modified by the armor of the body part that you have hit. Remember that different parts of the body of the opponent have different armor value, so there is going to be a modifier if you attack a part of the body that has leather protection, another modifier if it is a part of the body that has armor or particularly strong armor. Of course, the better the armor, the lower the number of damage dice that you roll. You finally have the number of damage dice, you roll them, you count the successes, you cross-reference with the part of the body that you have hit, and you have the result, which may be a loss in strength or savvy for the opponent, or other effects such as being knocked down. You may inflict a killing stroke, you may inflict a bleeding wound on the opponent, different types of results. And this really is the main system, the main core of rules of the game. The players keep moving around and fighting until one of the gladiators dies, and of course at that point that gladiator is the winner, or until one of the gladiator is unconscious or surrenders. At that point you will have to roll on a table to see if the crowd decides to spare the gladiator or not, and also there are other sets of conditions that may trigger the end of a fight. You may have figured it out by now. In this game you do roll a lot of dice. You do not like to roll dice, not the game for you, definitely. You roll dice and you check tables. You roll more dice and you check more tables. And I know that this mechanic is not everybody's cup of tea. Clearly, this is a game that is a lot about theme. The game really tries to convey a strong sense of theme, but I have to say that from what you get in the game, you probably have to work a little bit in order to really create a strong sense of theme. I think you still have to flesh out the game a little. If you're a miniature gamer, then I think this is a great system for you because you have a lean system, lean set of rules that then you can apply to create all sorts of situations. Then you can use your beautiful painted miniatures of gladiators. You can create different landscapes depending on the scenario that you want to play. But if you're like me, that is, you're not that artsy crafty, you're not interested in building and painting your own game, you just want to play with what comes out of the box or the Ziploc bag, then I just had the sense that this game feels a little thin on the side of theme. The theme is there, but yet so many dice are rolled and so many tables are consulted that sometimes I feel like the theme is a little fragmented in all these little aspects. If I had strong visual components that reminded me of the action all the time, then I think that the experience would be very different. It may also be, actually it probably is, that in this I'm influenced by the other game that I'm playing these days, Munera, because in Munera you have components that are visually much more evocative than the ones in Red Sand Blue Sky. You have rules that simulate more or less what happens in Red Sand Blue Sky, but without using charts and tables, so in a certain way more elegantly. You'll see in my next video how that works. And again, to me, that gave me a stronger sense of theme. But that doesn't mean that Red Sand Blue Sky is without merits, because it has, for example, the great merit of being so flexible. You can play it with any number of people. With Munera you really need to have 4 players. The game is advertised for 2 to 4 players, but you need 4. It is that simple. Also, the game Munera takes several hours to play, and Red Sand Blue Sky can be played anywhere between 10-15 minutes to, if you want, and several hours. So maybe Red Sand Blue Sky will not be a game that I will play as the main course, or the know that I will get out of my way to create all the components and all the setting that can give me, that can really make a strong experience out of the rules that come with this game. But I think that I'll be able to play it in the future as a fun filler, and then I may just end up playing it more often than Mooner, even though to me Mooner is overall more rewarding.